Welcome to today's webinar on engaging students with Brightspace discussions. We're excited to have you join us. Before we get started, I wanted to let you know a few housekeeping items. Our closed captions are available in Zoom, so feel free to turn those on or off depending on your needs. The Zoom question and answer box is open for any questions you have throughout today's session, and please keep questions specific to today's topic. We will do our best to answer any questions during our time together, but if you don't see your answer, please be sure to check out the question and answer report that we will be sending out in the follow-up email. Today's session is being recorded and it will be posted on the Bright Ideas for K-12 YouTube playlist. And you can expect to see this recording posted within about a week. And in the coming days, we will send all registrants an email with a link to that playlist that I mentioned, a copy of the slide deck that I'm presenting today, which contains additional resources, and also a copy of the question and answer report that I mentioned before. So let's get started with today's agenda. We will start with some quick introductions about the folks you have here with you today and some D2L terms. Next, we'll have a tool introduction followed by a demo in Brightspace. And to finish off, we'll go through the additional resources. And if all goes according to plan timing-wise, we will have time for a question and answer and further discussion at the end. So a little bit about us. My name is Heather Lougheed, and I am a customer success specialist here at D2L. And my role, along with the other faces on the screen there, is to help educators like you get the most out of Brightspace. And on the screen here, you'll see I have my colleagues Victoria, Lou, and Sebastian here with me today, and they will be answering any questions that you may have in the Q&A box, and also sharing resources in the chat. And before we get too far, I want to go over some terms that we are aligned moving through the session today. D2L is the company Victoria, Sebastian, Lou, and I work for, and Brightspace is the product we make, a learning management system. And depending on where you work, your district may call Brightspace something like eClass, iLearn NYC, or the VLE. And although some of your districts have different names for their learning management system, they all refer to Brightspace. In addition, our Brightspace community is a hub where you can connect with other Brightspace users and seek out additional information on Brightspace. So there will be a link in the chat to join the community if you have not done so already. So here are our learning objectives for today, and by the end of the session, we hope you have learned how to create and configure a discussion forum and topic. I also hope that you learn how to set up groups within your course to support small groups or perhaps differentiated learning, and then also know how to design learning activities that combine groups and discussions together so we can have those tools working and set up some meaningful peer interaction and participation. So why should we use Brightspace discussions? Discussions encourage learners to share their thoughts on course materials, helping them move through learning in a more active participation rather than it just being passive consumption. These discussions, they can really promote collaboration by allowing students to respond to each other and build on ideas, creating a stronger learning community. You can also group students into specific discussion areas for projects, small group activities, or differentiated instruction. And this really keeps conversations focused and meaningful. Instructors can engage directly by responding to posts in discussions, and you can do this by providing feedback or guiding deeper thinking. Discussions can also be aligned to standards and assessed using rubrics to ensure clear expectations and consistent grading. And then finally, as I mentioned a couple times, they can be used for differentiation. So you can incorporate multimedia prompts and use release conditions to personalize when and how students participate. So now let's look at the different group types you could have in discussions. So you could have whole group, custom groups, and one-to-one groups. And then you can decide when each works best. So first we have whole group discussions. So this is where everyone in the class participates in the same conversation. And this is ideal for introducing a new concept, reflecting on course content together. And this whole group discussion, it really helps build community and allows learners to see a wide range of perspectives in one shared space. And then next we have this custom groups option. So this divides students into smaller discussion areas. So this is perfect for team projects, case studies, peer review, or differentiated activities. Smaller groups often encourage more participation and deeper collaboration since learners may feel more comfortable contributing in a more focused setting. And finally, we have one-to-one discussions. So these create a private conversation between the instructor and an individual learner. They're great for personalized feedback, reflective journaling, check-ins, or supporting individual growth. And this format keeps communication focused and confidential. And by choosing the right groups, you can create the right level of interaction in discussions. So now that we have had an overview of discussions and groups, let's take a look in Brightspace. So here I am in my junior intermediate course, my junior intermediate science course, sorry folks, and I am logged in as an instructor here, and this is my view as an instructor. If your homepage or your navigation bar look different than what I have here, it is perhaps because you have set it up differently or your organization has set it up differently. But just want to note that before we move along. So I am going to head into the discussions tool. If you do not have the discussions tool in your nav bar, you can navigate there through course admin. So here I am in our discussions tool. And discussions are formatted in a hierarchy of 3 levels. And I like to think of the discussions tool as a filing cabinet, and then the levels being organized into that filing cabinet. So the first level is a forum, and I like to think of that as the drawer or one of the drawers of a filing cabinet. So this is a forum here on the screen in black, the earth science discussions. So the forums act as a container to organize discussion topics. And so our next level here is the topic level underneath. And I like to think of this as file folders within my filing cabinet drawers. So the topics show up in blue, and this is where you will provide instructions and where students will post and read messages. Now, the third level is threads, and that's the level underneath topic. And so I like to think of these as the papers within my file. So you will see posts here. On here it says this number 1, but when we see posts, these encompass both our threads and replies. So this is where the conversation is in action. And users can create threads in a topic, and then other learners can respond to that. When we are setting up discussion forums in Brightspace, there are several flexible formatting options depending on your goals and how you want students to engage. So here we have we have a forum that is organized by unit. So this keeps everything structured and easy to navigate, with each unit creating its own related discussion topics. So that's an option for you if you want to organize it that way. And I'm going to scroll through here. So we can also create individual forums that house a single topic. So this works well when you want focused conversations around a specific question, assignment, or activity. And that's what we have here. Another option is to set up group forums. So these are especially useful for collaborative work and can function like a small group room chat where students can plan projects, share ideas, and communicate more privately within their group. We can also create forums for emotional check-ins. So these spaces give students an opportunity to reflect on how they're feeling, share challenges, and build classroom community in a supportive environment. And finally, at the bottom here, we can set up one-to-one discussion forums. These provide that private space for individual communication between a student and their teacher. So this is really helpful for that personalized feedback, questions they have, or ongoing academic support. The key that I wanted to show here is that discussion forums are highly flexible and we can design them intentionally to support academic learning, collaboration, communication, and student well-being. So we are going to pop back up here to the take a selfie topic. And I want to take a closer look at this one. So on the side here, on this left-hand side, there is this blue ribbon, and this is showing me that there is some unrun activity in this topic. Then on the right here, I can see how many threads there are, and that means how many students have clicked into this topic and then started a new thread with their selfie. And then here with posts, this right here is encompassing both threads and responses. So as I mentioned before, it's a cumulative of those numbers. So I am going to click in here. So here I have my topic, take a selfie, and then underneath I have this description where I've given clear instructions for my students so they know what to do. And since there is already a description here, it's all set, but I can click into it and I can edit it. And you will notice here that I have the full Brightspace editor. I can use insert stuff, and I could add in a video note for my students to create some face-to-face engagement. I can also insert a quick link here, which is really valuable if there is a part of your course content that you want students to be reflecting on. So you can come in here and add a quick link. And then all of your content units are showing up here. So you would be able to come in and pick any of your content, and that could act as a hyperlink within that discussion space. And I will just scroll down here. And so what I did as an instructor is I created a thread and I created an example for my students. And what I can do here is I can click on this context menu and I can pin this post so that it stays at the top of this topic. So all of my students would see this first. There is also this subscribe option. So if you were to click on this, you have all of these custom notifications that you could choose between for how you want to get notified if somebody responds to your thread. And there we are. So that is an overview of our discussions tool. And now what I'm going to do is head over to our groups tool. And so if you do not have that in your navbar, again, I do not. So I am going to navigate there through course admin and through groups. And so here, I already have a few groups that are set up and I can see them through my categories. And there are a couple already here, but I'm going to walk you through how to create a new category and then some groups under that. So I'm going to start by clicking on New Category, and these are going to be called debate groups. And you have the option to add a description here, and you have the full Brightspace editor available to you. Now I'm going to take a look at our enrollment types here. So number of groups with no auto enrollments is the only option where you as an instructor can manually choose who belongs to which group. So I would tell the system how many groups I want in total, and then I would have to manually add in who I want in each group. The other options that are below is where the system will manually add students for you, or students can enroll themselves. So when I have groups of a number, this would be used if you want to specify the number of students in each group. Next is the number of groups. So say I want to have a total of 2 groups and not sure how many would be in each group. That's what I would choose. And then I have the same thing here of groups of a certain number, but students would self-enroll in whichever groups they want. And that's the same for numbers of groups and the self-enrollment. Then I also have a number of groups with a capacity number. So if I have 2 groups total, a capacity of 5, nobody would be able to join that group once it reaches 5 people. And then finally here, I have this single user member specific groups. So as I mentioned before, we can set up those one-to-one groups, and this could be used for one-to-one journaling. And if they were to post a thread, nobody else would be able to see their response, just the instructor. So for today, I am going to set up a number of groups, and I am going to set up 2 groups here. And for this restricts enrollments to, I am not going to have any restrictions here. This would be if you wanted to put people into groups that you already have created. And I'm going to add a group prefix here of debate, just so that I know. Then we have advanced properties here. So we have auto enroll new users. So this would automatically add any new students you add into the course into the group. You can also randomize users in groups. So this is going to put users wherever. And then we can also make category and group descriptions visible to group members. So if you had something really specific in your groups and you wanted to make sure that your learners knew what that was, then we would check off this box. Now, with these additional options, we can set up a discussion area right from here. And today I am not going to do that because I am going to show you how to connect groups when creating a discussion topic. But I want to point out that this is an option to do here along with lockers and perhaps group assignments. So that is a really great feature with our groups tool. I will click save here. And this does take a few moments to work in the back end. So I am going to head into our content space, and you can create a new discussion from the discussions tool. but I am using the new content experience where we can build accessible activities right in line with our content. And so this is what I'm going to do. And the benefit of this is that learners don't miss any activities as they're going through that content. So I'll point out here when we click into our Welcome to Science unit, we have an individual science journal right here as this discussion post is right in line with all of this content. And I am going to go into this chemistry unit and I'm going to create a new discussion. So I am going to do this by clicking Create New and Discussion. So the first thing we need to do is add our topic title. And then we have the option here to add our forum. And if you don't have any forums created, it will want you to create that first forum as we need to have that first level of our hierarchy created in advance. So I am going to create a new forum title called Debate Topics. Now, if you have expectations, outcomes, or standards, I use those words interchangeably within your course from the Achievement Standards Network, then you can add those right into the discussion topic right here. So your standards would come up here and we can save those. Next is we can decide if it is graded or ungraded. So I am going to make this graded out of 10 points, and it is going to create a new grade item. So if I evaluate learners, their marks will be automatically added to the gradebook. We can also add a due date here. So I'm going to make this due in 2 weeks' time. And then we can add our description. So what I'm going to do is I'm setting up a discussion here for a debate, and I am going to have students in two different groups debate whether chemicals are mostly good, helpful, or if chemicals are mostly bad and harmful. So that discussion that description is here in our discussion. And again, you have the full Brightspace editor here where you can add those video notes, you can add images, you can check for with our accessibility checker. And so it's great that you have all of these features for adding that description. Now I'm going to head over here to the right side under availability dates and conditions. So if you don't want a discussion to be visible right away, then you can set it for a date in the future, and then students would see it on that date. You can also set an end date, but I want to advise to use that with caution as the topic will be removed after that end date. So it's something to keep in mind on whether you want your learners to be heading back and looking at any of those previous responses. We can also add release conditions to our discussions. So I am going to add a release note here, a release condition here, sorry. And I really want my students to have visited a certain content topic. So I want my students to have looked at the What is Chemistry content topic and visited and reviewed that prior to coming in to this discussion. So once they visit that content, then this discussion will be available for them. And now we can manage our group and section restrictions here that we created. So I am going to click in and manage our groups. So you can see here that we have our debate groups here. And so we have two options. So we can restrict the topic. So users in a selected group would be able to view the topic in all of its threads. So you might do that if you're setting up a topic for one debate group and then another topic for another debate group. Whereas here, the way I have formatted it is that I've given instructions within my description that both debate groups can follow. So what I can do is I can restrict this topic and it will separate the threads between the two groups automatically. So any of the learners that are in group one won't see the thread of group two. So it will still be able to be separate, but it will all be under one topic. And so I'm going to add that here. And then we're going to look at post and completion. So we have default participation, and this is where you can click on a content topic and see everyone else's responses, no matter what time they did theirs at. If I might go in and 3 people may have already responded. Another option here is to allow learners to hide their name from other learners. So it allows learners to choose if they want to post anonymously. Then another option here is that learners need to start a thread before they can view or reply to other threads. And I really like this option because it allows learners to provide their own thoughts before looking into to other learners. And the last one here is that posts must be approved before they display in the topic. So an instructor would need to approve those, and it would be marked as moderated within discussions. And now we'll take a look at evaluation and feedback. So right here within discussions, we can add a rubric, and you can add an existing one that you have within your course. And if you need to take a look at it, you can click on this magnifying glass and it will pop out a new window for you to take a look at it. And then we also have this evaluate post option. So you can allow evaluation of individual posts, and we must have it added to the gradebook to be able to select this one. And then we also have allow learners to rate posts. So there is a 5-star rating that can be available. So learners can give another thread 1 to 5 stars. There's also upvote and downvote rating. And my preference is to use the upvote only rating. And this really promotes inclusivity by only allowing those upvotes. And then we are all done here with all of our settings. We're going to make it visible and save and close. And so this discussion topic, you can see here, it is right in line with all of my content for my learners. Now, if you had a discussion topic that you have within your discussions tool, but it is not in content, you can add existing and you can choose discussion here. So I'm going to add a Friday emotional check-in for this Friday, and that will be right in there for my learners. So we are going to head back to our slideshow here. So here are a few simple strategies that can really make your discussions more effective and engaging. So you might want to consider posting weekly prompts or reflection questions to keep learners engaged throughout the term and really encourage that ongoing participation. Adding a rubric like we just saw can be really helpful for students as it can clarify expectations and it can also streamline your grading when you're going in there and looking at those discussion threads. I mentioned it a few times, but using that video note tool can really add a more personal touch, and it allows learners to respond with short videos to somebody else's video, and especially in an online format, that can really create community. And we looked at it when I was just creating that discussion to allow learners to post anonymously, and this can really foster open dialogue on sensitive topics. And you can use those release conditions to scaffold learning, like I did, where we had to have students view certain course content before the discussion becomes available. And like I said, I really like to use the learners must start a thread before they can view or reply to others. And this really encourages that original thinking. I won't go over the entirety of this slide, but I wanted to provide this to you so that you have it as a resource if you are setting up groups or if you have a particular situation where you think groups might work, you are able to reference this slide when we send it out in our follow-up email. And we will revisit our learning objectives from today. So we went over how to create and configure discussion forums and topics, how to set up groups within a course, and then how to connect those groups with discussions to make that meaningful peer interaction and participation. While we go through the last few slides here, we would love if you could take a few moments to fill out our survey. We love to get your feedback, and these results really help us to improve our offerings and make sure we are delivering what it is that you want to see. If you have a smartphone on you, there is a QR code on the screen that you can scan, or the link is in the chat for you. I also wanted to point out on this slide that we have two links that will direct you to Brightspace Community, where you can learn more about our approach to product feedback and learn more about participating in user experience research. We also invite you to join the D2L Champions program. Being a champion gives you the opportunity to receive points for sharing your experience, providing your feedback, and even for checking out our webinars like this one. You can redeem these points for swag, gift cards, charity options, and additional D2L services. And you can find the link for the Champions program in the chat. We have a couple more sessions to come, and here's a look at the topics that we have planned through May. In April, we have a guest presenter who will be with us, so that will be a fantastic session, and we hope that you can join us. And then in May, we have another session on rollover best practice. And the links are in the chat for you, the registration and webinar description. And please pass these links along to others in your organization. These sessions are open to all Brightspace users. Additionally, our training team also hosts 2 monthly webinar sessions for all Brightspace users. The first one is a Q&A drop-in session where you can get your Brightspace question answered in real time. And the second is focused on what's new in Brightspace using our monthly release notes. And these sessions give you free access to our D2L training team in a way that you might not get otherwise. So be sure to check them out if you are available. And there is links in the chat with more information on those sessions. And I briefly want to show you some more slides as they include D2L resources. These are all hyperlinks for you that will be in the document that we send out afterwards. So keep an eye on these slides if you want some additional resources. We will be sending out that follow-up email with a link to the playlist where the recording of this session will be. It will also include the slide deck and the question and answer report as well. So please keep an eye on your email in the coming week for that. But that is all we have for you today. So take good care, and we hope to see you next month.